right, well, welcome to the December holiday edition. I'm just saying,
Two black women with opinions.
I'm Ottawa Jones.
My name is Janet Robinson Flint, and today my opinion is a bit masked because I've been having a cold. Ugh. And I didn't really share it with my friends, family, co-workers, and cohorts.
I think we might need a double one. Do you have one?
A
double max.
You know, that kind of reminds me of, remember way back in the day when HIV was in the news a whole lot more than it is now. And used to say, put on a double condom, like put on two.
Yeah, we said.
But that didn't worry. Yeah. So worried about the session. Yeah.
I don't think so. I think it probably is very helpful nowadays.
Yes. Yeah, I think I won't be able to breathe. Either fall out in the street. What happened? I couldn't breathe.
Well, some of us would probably be like, well, it saved us. Sorry, it didn't save them.
Yeah. The door, don't happen to that person.
Speak on as such. And probably leads us to how this is titled Men, Math, and Mayhem. That's today's show, folks. But I start off with men. Like, I am so like, what the heck is going on? So clueless. I mean, I feel like I definitely have a top-notch book ready for the conversation about men in today's society.
Oh, what book is that? There's a book? I get a clue in writing? Woo-hoo!
Yeah, you might.
I will write it now.
So, I think that, this book, it really can't.
What's the name of the book? Oh, Lord. Oh, it's
Well,
You Come Right.
Yeah, because you talk about it. Oh, right. I talked to Rob before, but it was really about dating through we could probably call it dating through the decades, right? And it probably would be this super phenomenal from those of us who started dating as early as the 80s to like really got to date in the 90s. And then these 2000s have just been, especially the last, I would probably say 15 years the last 15 years have been nothing but what I call trash. I think, and I'm not the only one that says this. I come across so many women with this, and it is definitely probably the double mask of men, or like maybe the triple mask, because you get to meet people's representative, right?
Well, they always send their representative.
Yeah, but I'd rather you not. Like,
well, they send their representative, and it is for us to decipher, pull back the onion peels until we get to the core of who that person is. But you send your representative too to the first couple of the encounter. Not really. Yeah, you do. You go by there. Look, I seen you pull on the things and put on the eyelashes. That was hell. That's sending your representative.
No, I don't feel like no Spanx is no representative.
Girl,
you were supposed to be smooth. You were taught coming up. You cannot say.
You were taught there about a patriarchy.
No,
Now with the patriarchy.
So you wanted, you couldn't. No.
But this thing, I got to put their bus ranks to come to the first day.
Right. Nowadays, they might have on not just Spanx, but they may have on a hair, what do you call that? A hair unit.
Yeah, I have one.
A hair unit. So, okay, back in the day, you cannot say that. You cannot say that grandmother them didn't. At home, they were comfortable. But when they went to the church or whatever, or they went for an event, everything was like laid. It was like laid. And you're right. You made the systems.
I'm going to say this, and then we're going to move on to get to your point.
Okay.
Yeah, the moo-moos was happening. And we could do a whole program on the moo-moo.
Yeah, we could.
Because the moo-moo are the what? Yeah, they're mad. But back to your point on men through the decade.
And back to your point, like, okay, the lashes have become my thing. So it's no masking that, because you might see me with lashes or without. I even had to say to somebody recently, getting ready for a date, they're like, oh, I'm going to give you time to go home and put on your makeup. I'm like, I don't do that. What you see for the most part is what you get. You might get a little of the lashes, some lip gloss, but other than that, you might not even get that. You might just get what you see.
Okay.
And so, but back to my point.
Yes.
So hell no. They speak in, what do you call that? The hypocrisy of what they want. Like they'll put out there, say you're on a dating app, and they'll say, talking over texting, don't want to do all that texting. And then they'll ask you for your number. And guess what they do?
Nothing.
Text you. And then they want to ask you, oh, it's me, such and such. That's Larry from the site. Just say hello. Larry, you couldn't pick up the phone and say hello? I thought you didn't want to talk.
Well, I think that's a generational thing.
No, these people be over 40, like, and even 50.
Okay. Time period that we in thing, right? Because there, also I'm from that age where there was no texting. Right. And the whole cell phone thing.
Yeah.
I'm from the age before the cell phone.
Yes.
Right. When you needed somebody's whole number to call.
Hey, we were waiting and don't want nobody else on the phone because you got to hurry up and get off the phone because I can't have my people catch busy says tonight.
Okay. So that's the decade. Before call away.
Yeah.
All right. And definitely before Texas. So it's that. But as we have, and I don't know if evolved is a proper word because I don't know if it's an evolution, but we have absolutely moved to a place where we use that technology, right? There are people, not my generation, but people who I could text it. Like I could text my daughter, for example. She'll text me back. But if I call her, I have to text her first and say, pick up the damn phone.
No. See,
all right.
No. I don't do that. I don't believe in that because
but this is I'm not gonna say this generation, but this is this era. Yeah. And it is something that all the folks who are living in this current time, no matter the age or generation, are picking up that, texting something real quick and, you onto it. And as part of that instant gratification thing, right? Or that instant messaging is like, okay, when you call to talk to someone, it demands two things, right? One, time, right? Because it's going to take you some more time. And then you have to be articulate because, some people, sorry.
I mean, I still feel like you have to be articulate in that text messaging because it's going to be, some things are lost in translation. So, for example, you can't ask me to tell you all the things I like via text. One, I still believe in privacy.
I tell you all the things I like. I figure that out one thing at a time.
But I don't even want to have that. Maybe not even want to expose that even on the app or in the text. Like, I'm a mother, I'm a grandmother, I work here, I do this, I do that.
That's not,
it's a conversation.
Yeah. Like I said, you're going to have to discover it one thing at a time.
Right. People have lost the art of socialization, I feel like. And then
I agree.
It causes them to not be able to communicate well.
I agree.
And so that's part of it. And then it's just like, folks don't really know what they want. One guy, and I'm going to end on this. One guy, and here's the thing. When I'm meeting folks, I don't believe in really telling all about the history of your experience with other people, whether it's just some folks you're dating or your exes, because I just don't want to shape what I think of you, especially initially, though it's sometimes good because you might just have somebody that's bashing.
Right.
But why I don't want to shape that is because I want us to start to get to know each other off of not bringing that type of baggage to the conversation.
Yeah, sure.
Because it does become baggage, right? So one guy said, yeah, well, I just feel like the women don't know what they really want. One woman said she wanted a relationship or marriage, but then she turned around and said she was looking for a friend with benefits and someone to help her pay her bills and
someone the way you met.
And I said, well, exactly. I said, why isn't that a marriage? Isn't that what a marriage is? People come together. Somebody's going to you're either going to be paying half of the bills together or somebody.
Well, you figure out what formula
or whatever. I said, but I think she wasn't right because she gave you what it was up front that she's also looking for. And that includes being a friend.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I didn't.
And this part of the June is.
Okay. I was like,
Okay.
It got worse, but I won't.
So what is it then that what are we tired of talking about men?
I'm just wondering, when are they going to get it and we get it? And then just like maybe we level it out and smooth it out. It just doesn't feel that, like, even like, okay, for example, they have all these new terms because Black Women for Wellness is about to have a Fierce Aunties cuffing season tomorrow night. So you've heard the term ZADDY, right? ZADDY. You ever heard the term ZADDY? Okay. So the term ZADDY kind of it really started from what I recall was some of these. It was like, he looks like a zaddy. Like, it was like, so what do you say? Well, back then it was like, when my friends first were talking about it, was some older men that just had this very like handsome, just wonderful look.
Like that Sugar Daddy on Instagram. But he's looking like real good with salt and peppers. Yeah, he still moves well. Yes. So has he a youthful essence, but he's like the older dude. Yes. Okay, so that's his daddy. So what about?
Came across a post. And the guy was young. And he called us, he said, Zaddy. I think it was even in his neck because he was Zaddy. But guess what he said?
Tell me.
I can really get this out. I'm looking for a mature woman that can satisfy me and take care of me financially, sexually.
Oh, he looking for a sugar mama.
That's what I was like. So you can't call yourself a daddy. You're unemployed.
One of his gigolo.
Right. One of you gigolo in need. You should have just said, man, looking for help or something. I was disappointed. He didn't even know the terms. I'm like, could you get it right?
No,
you're not a daddy. You're an infant. You're a baby.
To keep up with these terms.
Baby boy. That's what it is. He should have added. I wanted to respond and say, change it to baby boy, and maybe you'll get your results.
Okay. Here, my advice and wisdom. Stay off of social media looking for a man. Well, I can find you one in real life. At least you see what you get. And so I'll tell you a story. One time I went to this party and party was dark, right?
I would have our mask on.
I'm dancing with this brother. I was like, ooh, he's smooth. Ooh, he dance, right? Blah, 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 blah. But okay, I'm small and I'm petty. I'm sorry. I was young. We get outside in the light and I was like, ooh, no. I could not lose it fast enough, bro. Okay, so that was maybe a small petty. When I was young, I think I'm older now. Perhaps I have more sense and perhaps I don't.
And it's just, it's that, and then people aren't honest about what they want. So I think that
I think that a lot of times people don't even know what they want.
Yeah.
Right? People don't know. Anita, we don't have an ideal to look up to, really, right? When I was growing up, what feels like 100 years ago, there were lots of relationships that were like 30-year-old relationships or 40-year-old relationships between men and women that you could look at, even if you didn't ask them for advice, but you could just look at and see how it was modeled, how people got along a little bit differently and that type of thing. We're not in that phase now. That the young people I see or deal with on a regular basis here at Black Women for Wellness don't have those seasoned age, mature relationships that they can look at for modeling, right? So, and if you don't have that modeling, it kind of like, you have to figure out what you want to look for. It was back in the age, we kind of like figured out, we want someone like our dad,
right,
or we want someone like our uncle, or, or how your brothers treated you. You want someone who treated you at least that well. But if you don't have those type of models right now, then you kind of figure out what you don't want, right?
Yeah.
You keep figuring out what you don't want. And that leads you through a series of relationships as opposed to being in that one where you could be in that one and work that out together. And I think it's the same thing with men.
Right. I mean, I do agree. I mean, I can say for myself, though, most of my friends that I'm around frequently have been married either 10 to 30 years. So, and those are my like real good girlfriends. And then there's some who've been single just a lifetime. It's the same thing, or not, I I would say not married. Have definitely dated and been in and out of relationships, but that's a challenge that I would like to see we overcome in our community. So much so, it's just like, how do we build and stick it out, and then stop coming up with all the excuses of, well, hell yeah, they stuck it out, but he had 2, 3, 4, 5 other children outside the children.
Hey, or Ruth, can I tell you another story? This was hilarious to me. There should be TV shows about Black funerals, for real. So I went to one of my uncle's funerals, and this particular uncle was a mailman. He had a whole other family on the other side of the tracks that came to funeral. It was hilarious. It was so funny. I was like, it was all kind of drama at that funeral, and I was like in the back eating popcorn. Oh, this is great, right? 'Cause I was that niece from California, right? So I had no none of it, right? And I had to have my cousin who lived in Ohio and narrate. Tell me today, tell me people, like that type of thing. So, that's hilarious. As some people may know, I am the executive director of Black Mental Wellness. And yes, we have a program called Cuffin Season coming up tomorrow night. And it's part of our Growth is Sexy, right? And what I am noticing, or what I, am sharing my experiences with in terms of Black wellness is how we go through menopause, how our body changes. And that's part of what it is, right? And then part of we're having dating coach, and we're having sex therapists, having people blend sex toys and stuff like that. And women go through different phases of our lives in that regard. Menopause is a great big old thing in terms of changes to your body, how you think about sex, sexuality, how you think about your body positive images. And what I notice is that Black women still very much appreciate Black men. Yeah, right, absolutely. Very much appreciate Black men. And are still trying to figure out who they are as we age and as we change, and how to do that in relationship and in communication with Black men. Yeah. Right. So that's the part that I know, right? That I think that both sides are trying. We trying to work through the madness. We're trying to work through the distraction on social media. We're trying to work through the distraction in the streets, right? To figure out how can we communicate, be in relationships that affirm us and help us grow and move forward. In real life, I think that's what we're trying to do.
I'm going to summarize that and say, try harder, folks.
Well, sometimes to try harder, you need tools.
Okay. All right. Well, then that sounds like we need to have not just another conversation, but it's almost like a town hall group meeting around, or something around what's working, what's not working, what needs to be, what needs to end for us to heal and do well together. Because I want to say that we are, but sometimes you're right, down with the social media, because it's almost like some of the brothers that picked up mics, I was like, and one guy even tried to remind me, yeah, that's like what Kip and Samuel said. I said, are you talking about that man that died with that woman and who didn't have anything, who was selling everybody a story and was impoverished?
Oh, Lord.
Yeah, I was like, okay. And the way he was talking to women, I was like, there's always a way to talk to either side without being demeaning and disrespectful to get your point across. And some folks felt like a lot of men that I've even talked to felt like he was right to just talk to him like that. I'm like, but nobody wants to be talked to like that. If I was a woman but my own show and I'm talking down to men, I'm going to be considered in the wrong, particularly. And I think, keep talking at us like that.
I was going to say, I think everyone should be offered dignity and respect.
Yeah.
So, and talking down at me is not offering either dignity nor respect. That's for sure.
Yeah.
There is, there was a playwright called Ron Milner. There used to be a place in Los Angeles called Inner City Theater. And it was in this huge building right off of Pico and Vermont. And the artistic director was C. Bernard Jackson. So this is me going way back, right? But Rod Milner, wrote a play called Mass, right? And in this play, when people were talking to each other, telling lies or telling something where they didn't want people to see inside, they would put up a mask. It was like an intriguing play that I remember for, that had to be a long time ago because I was kind of co-ed at the time. But I think that people have always worn some power. Yes. And I think it is one as a protection or a force field or security. Because everybody don't need to see who you are, right? Everybody should see your vulnerabilities or your insecurities or even your weak point because people will exploit them, right? Or they will manipulate you in that regard. So there is a place for mass, right? In terms of that force field until you get to know someone. And you can let down a little bit, a little bit more. But in that demands reciprocity also, right? Definitely. So if I let my mask down a little bit, then you gotta let your mask down a little bit, unless a person talking about COVID, blah blah blah. Please okay. Yeah, I really hear that. But that is, so there's a reason for masks, and I think there is a function for them. Yeah. And I also think, people can take that to the other end of the spectrum too, right? In that people get so immersed into their mask, into who they are pretending to be or who they are putting forth into the world that they lose themselves, right? Yeah. So, and then you get so caught up in the mask that you can't take it off, that you can't be who you are until you have a significant event that makes you remember who you are. So in some senses, on one side of the spectrum, people wear masks as protection. And then on the other side, people disintegrate, I would say, so deeply into the mask that they forget who they are. Well, that's interesting that you say that. And that would happen around the election. You think that's what some of what happened? Because I think either we were so moved and so in the mindset that we had it. I think some people thought we truly had it in the bag. No. I'll just say this. It continues to amaze me, and I don't know why, the extreme level of racism and misogyny in this country, right? And 92% of Black women said, we vote for Kamala, right? I think even in either for peace, right? So they were voting for peace. I was in the downing of the storm. Now that's how it worked. And then Black men voted for her too. Yeah. Right? Not to support racism. So now then we look at, well, then who did vote for that other person, right? It was white men, not surprised them, right? And then it was white women. Not surprised again. And then it shows the Latino men, right? Now that was but not Latino women. But that was really tricky because, so yeah, I'm just looking at that. But I wasn't surprised because when I think of people like Santos and I think of people in some of those leading, Cruz, that didn't surprise me because when they showed up like they did, then the shackles went up. But it is unbelievable now to see how many voted that way. As if to me, it's almost like it's that wanting to be so caught up in this white system that. Well, and that's part of the whole mass syndrome, right? To bring it back to the mass, right? So there are some people, I will say white women here, who wore the mask, like I'm going to pretend to be right? Well, I'm really going to support the patriarchy. I'm going to support white men. because that benefits me. Like, and there were some, let's say, Latino men who disintegrated into the mass of whiteness to the point where they didn't know who they were, right? To the point where they didn't get it. That when they said, we gonna, what is it? Send 1 million people back. That means you. Well, I think maybe they don't matter if you're here legally, or you got your status straight, or you here illegally, or you have so integrated into the white community that you forgot where you came from. They didn't.
I feel like they did get it, but they didn't think it would impact them. I feel
That's the center, baby. They have asked so much so that you lose yourself.
Yeah, because I mean, yeah, I could say something else about that, and I'm gonna hold that. I think you're right. That is disintegrating into until you voted for against. What I say, use that in the is your character. But then again, I just started thinking, well, that has to be your character because nothing that was said really made enough sense to support. It wasn't anything that was said that made enough sense to support. So then that leads me to believe that you are one that receives lots of garbage. You're one that hides behind, lets people feed you nonsense, and you take that in and take that at face value and you run with it. Whereas when I'm dealing with somebody, we're going to have a standard conversation and we're going to talk about truths and we're separating fact from fiction. And we're not sitting up here delving into hiding behind different things. Like, it just asked you a simple question. Now you went down a rabbit hole.
Well, you talk about this.
No, I'm talking about the person who's going to be president. You went down a rabbit hole of Haitians eating people's cats and dogs. Now I asked you a simple question, and you went over here. How did that make sense to people voting? It was just like some of the things they would see here. I'm like, how did that make sense? Further, I'll end with this. That the whole Republican Party, this is all I could think about the whole time. That the whole Republican Party, out of the whole party, you couldn't find one candidate that could make reasonable sense, that's not chaotic, that was the
point. That was not the point. They were trying to be reasonable for you. I mean, when I look at it, the point was not to be reasonable. The point was to be racist. And the point is to be painful. It's going to be very painful. These next 4 years are going to be painful. So that's what I'm looking at. I want to remind people, pray not. We talked about books today and what books that we wanted to learn the dance between us. So we talk about mass and we talk about where we are now. There is a book by Toni Morrison called The Bluest Eye. Mm-hmm. Right? And in The Bluest Eye, in the final chapter of the book, this is a young Black woman, right? And she longs for blue eyes, right? And in the final chapter of the book, when she looks in the mirror, she sees blue eyes, right? So I think that many of them, when they look in the mirror, they see blue eyes. Mm. But they forget that there are folks who are looking at them that don't see them blue eyes.
Right. Well, speaking of which, I'm glad you brought that up. Which one of them? I'm glad you brought the book up. But it brings me to our great loss this week.
Nikki Giovanni.
Yeah. Nikki Giovanni.
Yeah. Nikki Giovanni she got some great poetry. So one of my favorite books of hers is Black Talk. And she has a poem in there, I think it's called Nikki Rosa, when she talks about her growing up in Chicago and like just loving her life and living her life and never knowing all the things that they assigned to her. Like saying, oh, you're poor. She was like, I'm living my best life with my parents and I get all this love. I eat every day. She right? So that's why everybody knows ego tripping. Right. So I think that, yes, this is a great boss. Yes.
It is. I wanted to look up something, and that's why I went here, because somebody sent something and I thought, this is utterly amazing, and I think I'll take the time to read it. It came from Mary D. Welch, who has a publishing company. But it just, so she was born Yolanda Cornelia Giovanni Jr. And it says, Yolanda Cornelia Nikki Giovanni Jr., born June 7, 1943, passed December 9th, 2024, was an American poet, writer, commentator, activist, and educator. One of the world's best-known African-American poets. Her work includes poetry, anthologies, poetry readings, recordings, and nonfiction essays, and covers topics ranging from race and social issues to children's literature. She won numerous awards, including the Langston Hughes Medal and the NAACP Image Award. She was nominated for a 2004 Grammy Award for Poetry Album, the Nikki Giovanni Poetry Collection. Additionally, she was named as one of Oprah Winfrey's 25 Living Legends. Giovanni was a member of the Wearing Green Women Writers Collective. It talks a little bit about all the numerous awards that she won. She was proud of her Appalachian roots and worked to change the way the world viewed Appalachians and Afro-Lations. So that was blacks who were Appalachian. Giovanni taught at Queens College, Rutgers, and Ohio State, and was a university distinguished professor at Virginia Tech until September 2022. After the Virginia Tech shooting in 2007, she delivered a chant poem at a memorial for the shooting victims. Was born in Knoxville, Tennessee, lived in Ohio. It just really talks about a lot of her work. And it was so much so I was like, ooh, Nikki was doing a dang thing. She was. She was really doing it. And I always thought about, her resilience and all of her speeches and poems. Didn't even realize she had a daughter. And how she, chose to, in spite of a lot of times people choose to go out and, they're not married. And folks are like, well, you can't have no children or raise no child by yourself or, without the natural order of things, right? And so, but she did. And folks should read more about it. It's such a long, this person put together.
So where will they find that?
Where will they find that? I got this from Mary D. Welch. I mean, it's not like I can't share it. I can always send it to you. And they can find it on Black Women for Wellness, bwwla.org. So I'll send it to you because it is a long, I want to call it a long anthology.
Okay.
And then did we get to the Mayhem? We didn't really get to the Mayhem. We kind of glossed over the Mayhem. Because we really don't want to delve into the Mayhem because we know that we have so much more to accomplish to come out of Mayhem. I'm not going to trick myself. Programs. Right. It's tough, definitely for another program. I'm not going to trick myself into all the negativity. We'll be talking about more of that, of how we build resilience, how we build comfort, how we find.
Okay, well, I got a quick commercial then.
All right.
So for Sisters at 8 this morning, we have manly hands come and get massages.
That's not a commercial. That's somewhere where you should have stopped the phone because I can't believe you were there and I would have benefited more so. Our boy with a mask on. Oh, you weren't. No, G. Thank you, Lord.
Look, I'm going to say manly hands.
Oh, I missed it.
Elbows, Reiki, acupuncture, all of these things, all of these tools that we have in our community, use them. If you need to know where to find them, you can find them on BW4WLA. On Instagram. You can find them at BWW Los Angeles on Facebook. You can find them on our website at bwwla.org. But we have about tools, resources, and people in our community that will help you on your healing journey. So thank you for tuning in to Two Black Women with Opinions. I'm just saying. And stay tuned for some more episodes. Jad Robinson Flint.
And Audrey Jones. See you soon. Peace and blessings.